Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It is Wednesday, 5 o'clock. Y'all know what that means. Do y'all know what that means? Y'all might not know what that means. So let me tell you. This is the Hoodrat Strategist radio program. It is a weekly program in which we come on, well, basically it's just me, come on the air and talk about current events, talk about politics, local, national, international, basically all that stuff that the establishment don't want you to know about, and we call out the oligarchy on its BS. As we start every show, just know the following thoughts, views, and opinions are not necessarily those of 89.1 FM, WIDR, Kalamazoo, or Western Michigan University. So, once again, sorry, I'm about, like 10 minutes late. Sorry about that, ladies and gentlemen. I was walking in the rain. But, man, we got a lot to talk about tonight. Woo! Oh, Wikileaks. Leaking Wikileaks. And also, going to be talking a little bit about, we've got some coverage, some more third-party coverage. This week, we're going to be focusing on the Mimi Solitsky and Angela Walker. They are, I believe it's called the Humanist Party. They're socialists, though. I will get that information. I'm sorry, I just rushed in, so I'm not looking at it at the moment. So we are going to get into all of that in just a moment, but why don't we go ahead and start this off with a song. We're also going to be touching on Bernie Sanders, a.k.a. New Deal Grandpa. He was up in Grand Rapids a few days ago. I went up there to cover it in my capacity as the Hoodrat Strategist. And also, spoiler alert, I might have raised a little bit of a ruckus. So we're going to go back. This is a classic from the primary season. Although, given some of the revelations that have been dropping as of late, it's still quite pertinent and harkens back to a more innocent day when our People's Choice still had a shot for, as the meme says, ladies and gentlemen, he was the best person who was ever cheated out of a chance to become our next president. So we're going to play this song, and then we'll hop on in to the political discourse. You are listening to 89.1 FM, WIDR Kalamazoo, the only source for political revolution.
Taking this all the way to the convention. I guess so. I'm feeling the burn. Are you feeling the burn?
When we stand together, there is nothing we cannot accomplish. Let's do it. Thank you.
Sanders. Breaking laws, talking slander. We don't know where that should land. Being balls in a slammer. Cleans not fit for commander. Black people matter. White people love Bernie Sanders. Flying the coach with the staffers. Tons of haters, tons of backers. Black people matter. White people crackers. Want them low taxes. Gotta vote glasses. No other African matches. He's calling for dollar for classes. Rich people funding their masses. Don't claim she's a fascist. Breaking laws, talking slander. We don't know where that should land. Being balls in a slammer. Cleans not fit for commander. Black people matter. White people love Bernie Sanders. Flying the coach with the staffers. Tons of haters, tons of backers. Black people matter. White people crackers. Want them low taxes. Gotta vote glasses. No other African matches. He's calling for dollar for classes. Rich people funding their masses. Don't claim she's a fascist. Hey. Sanders. Being balls in the slammer, take all the evidence that she's tampering. So much it's evident. They be asking about how she's so negligent. Private server, they searching what's left of it. Has a person that's meant to be president been such a detriment? Benghazi, scandal. Enemies killed him like Rambo. Called her up on the damn phone, please Hillary, they are mad. Just want you answer the killers, please give the backup. We've been after militias to come attack us. We'll be stacking the bully. She hadn't passed it, but we asked for nobody else. Mad at somebody should slap her. Wake up, you don't did it. Shit, they're the blame cause we must all be dummies. Know you killed him, so why did you try to say that if it from online caused a strike that came? Call her liar cause she lies away. Billy, your wife betrayed all those who died in vain. Think it's about time she pays get it. Breaking laws, yeah, admit it. Saying sorry, can't acquit it. That's how she living. Play the card for the women. The same a fraud politician that should be convicted. Being boss in the instant. Don't be roped to the fiction. Vote for a Clinton that isn't the hopeful decision. Sanders. Breaking laws, talking slander. We don't know where that should land her. Being balls in the slammer. Clinton's not fit for commander. Black people matter. White people love Bernie Sanders. Flying the coach with the staffers. Tons of haters, tons of backers. Black people matter. White people crackers. Want them low taxes. Gotta vote glasses. No other African matches. He's calling for dollar for classes. Rich people funding the masses. No for Clinton, she's a fascist. Breaking laws, talking slander. We don't know where that should land her. Being balls in the slammer. Clinton's not fit for commander. Black people matter. White people love Bernie Sanders. Flying the coach with the staffers. Tons of haters, tons of backers. Black people matter. White people crackers. Want them low taxes. Gotta vote glasses. No other African matches. He's calling for dollar for classes. Rich people funding the masses. No for Clinton, she's a fascist. Sanders.
Support for Wider FM comes from Pedal Bicycles, now with 2 locations in downtown Kalamazoo and Portage. Pedal Bicycles has the right bike for every Kalamazoo rider, whether you're blazing the trails, cruising the streets, or just getting off the training wheels. To keep your ride running smooth, Pedal Bicycles offers multiple levels of repair services, anything from a quick tune-up to a complete overhaul. And to keep you safe and looking fly, Pedal Bicycles has all of the gear and apparel you'll need. To discover your spin within, head to 185 Romans Road in Portage, 611 West Michigan Avenue in downtown Kalamazoo, or pedalbicycle.com. Thanks, Pedal Bicycle, for supporting sustainable transportation, Buns of Steel, and Radio Evolution.
Hello again, ladies and gentlemen. This is the Hoodrat Strategist, and you are tuned in to the Hoodrat Strategist radio program, only here on 89.1 WIDR Kalamazoo. Well, as I said at the beginning of the show, we got a lot to talk about. Goodness. For those of you who don't know, a couple other new rounds of Wikileaks have dropped. Mostly focusing on the Clinton campaign. Now, before we really kick off discussion about that, there's a couple other topics I wanted to skirt through real quick. So, just so y'all know, all of you listening out there in Kalamazoo and abroad, you probably noticed I'm not going to be talking about crazy Uncle Don that much. Donald Trump, that is. Now, this is not because this is not endorsement through omission or any of that jive stuff. Donald Trump, and let me emphasize, this show, we are nonpartisan, transpartisan, if you will, but We call it like we see it. You know, we call out the BS. And, I mean, it's very obvious. I'm not going to stand up here like, CNN and all of them were, at least for the first few months of his candidacy, and just take it all in stride and report the facts. That dude is a narcissistic idiot who says horrible, horrible things. But that's been very well covered. I think everybody at this point knows about what he said. And I think we're all a little concerned that he's going to grab America by the you-know-what. God. That being said, we're going to mostly focus on Wikileaks for the first part of this program, because there's a lot of stuff in there. And, the chief reason I wanted to start doing the show is because, like I said, Hoodrat Strategist, calling out the establishment's BS, talking about the things that the mainstream media either doesn't talk about or does not want you to know about. And they have been ignoring the absolute living heck out of this. Like I think I saw a few clips from Morning Joe. It's a talk show on MSNBC. They were talking about this a little bit, but there's just some stuff in there that is abhorrent. It's bad. Any other election year, if Hillary, anti-oligarchy, as I like to code name her, if she were facing a normal Republican, she'd be doomed. This stuff would be damning. She would be tanking, but she has the good fortune of running against a race-baiting carnival barker. Good fortune? It's almost as if, it's almost a little too good to be true, isn't it? Well, that will lead us into our first WikiLeaks. Goodness. And this, I can't believe it. I mean, I believe it, but I can't believe it. You know what? I'll go ahead and read it out loud, and then I'll go in and talk about it a little bit. But, it's similar to, the mood back in April and May and June. There was this sense there was something going on, something smelled real funny about the Democratic primaries. And all of the hardcore burners who were really on top of this stuff were essentially, and I mentioned this term, gaslighting. Gaslighting. It is when the other side tries to make you feel like you are the crazy one. That is what happened to a lot of hardcore burners back then who were talking about it seems biased. This primary seems rigged in Hillary's favor. As we all found out, the culture of the DNC was totally in the tank for Hillary. Not only that, and I will talk about this at length on a future program, there was widespread voter suppression and election fraud. If you want to get the full skinny on this, Election Justice USA, they've got a good 100-page report, extremely thorough and meticulous. Basically just lays it all out there how New Deal Grandpa got cheated out of the nomination. By extension, I don't even like to say he got cheated out of the nomination. We got cheated out of the nomination. That dude was a populist. We were he got a lot of people excited about politics who never were before, myself included. I'm an outside agitator / activist, but never thought to get, work for a campaign. And yeah, it got taken from us. So what's this latest WikiLeaks that has me so outraged that I want to spit here at the top of the program? Well, while I quit procrastinating, I'll just read this sucker. Okay. All right. This is to the Democratic National Committee. And the subject line is 2016 GOP presidential candidates. And this is from the series of WikiLeaks from John Podesta, who is Hillary Clinton's campaign manager, longtime friend of the Clintons, was part of Bill's cabinet back in the day. So a long-time Clinton friend and associate, John Podesta. Here is what it says. Friends, this memo is intended to outline the strategy and goals a potential Hillary Clinton presidential campaign would have regarding the 2016 Republican presidential field. Clearly, most of what is contained in this memo is work the DNC is already doing. Yeah, by the way, this is dated April 7th, 2015. Yeah, the DC's already working on it, as we all very well freaking know. Okay, back to the email. This exercise is intended to put those ideas to paper. And good thing he did, because now we know about it. Our goals and strategy. Our hope is that the goal of a potential HRC campaign and the DNC would be one and the same, to make whomever the Republicans nominate unpalatable to the majority of the electorate. We have outlined 3 strategies to obtain our goal. 1. Force all Republican candidates to lock themselves into extreme conservative positions that will hurt them in the general election. Number 2, undermine any credibility/trust Republican presidential candidates have to make inroads to our coalition or independence. And 3, muddy the waters on any potential attack lodged against HRC. Now, thus far, I haven't even really dug into what's wrong with this email yet. And thus far, this all seems fairly reasonable. You know, forcing the Republican candidates to have an extreme conservative position. You know, this is pretty standard political strategizing. I don't really fault them for that. Undermine any credibility/trust Republican presidential candidates have. That sounds a little sneaky, but again, that is kind of the way our mudslinging politics work, unfortunately. Let's continue. Operationalizing the strategy. In italics, Pied Piper candidates. Interesting. There are 2 ways to approach the strategies mentioned above. The first is to use the field as a whole to inflict damage on itself, similar to what happened to Mitt Romney in 2012. And with that, I believe they were referring to how Obama was more of a populist than Romney was. They really hit him on the head with the elitist attack line, which in certain circumstances is valid. That whole 47% comment, I don't know if y'all remember that from 2012, but really alienated a lot of working class people. The variety of candidates is a positive here, and many of the lesser known can serve as a cudgel to move the more established candidates further to the right. In this scenario, we don't want to marginalize the more extreme candidates, but make them more Pied Piper candidates who actually represent the mainstream of the Republican Party. Pied Piper candidates include, but aren't limited to, Ted Cruz, Ben Carson, and, dramatic pause, Donald Trump. We need to be elevating the Pied Piper candidates so they are leaders of the pack and tell the press, I'm going to repeat that one more time, and tell the press to take them seriously.
Save future generations from a dirty, polluted planet. Reduce, reuse, recycle.
Now,
look for products with less packaging. Buy less and higher quality products. Choose reusable.
I'll go on just a little bit more
recycle what you can't reuse.
To really delve into what's wrong with this. If you don't get it yet, I will explain. Now, here's the next parenthesis. Undermining their message and credibility. Most of the more established candidates will want to focus on building a winning general election coalition. The Pied Pipers, which, mind you, again, they're referring to Ted Cruz, Ben Carson, and Donald Trump. The Pied Pipers of this field will mitigate this to a degree, but more will need to be done on certain candidates to undermine their credibility among our coalition. And what they're talking about is communities of color, millennials, and women. That's the people Democrats are hoping on, and independent voters. In this regard, the goal here will be to show that they are just the same as every other GOP candidate, extremely conservative on these issues. All right. So, what do we have here? Well, essentially, the elevating of the Pied Pipers. This is problematic. What does it mean on a cursory level? Well, for me, it's an assault on what democracy is supposed to be. Now, I have heard a lot of people in light of this make the argument that is just how it works. And I will admit, okay, it's a good political strategy, but it's also extremely craven and debased and deplorable that you want the opposing side, you want to use your influence in such a way that they race to the bottom and pick the bottom of the barrel because it is easier for you to win in the general election. So, that is the idea right there. That the worse the RNC's nominee, the easier it would be for Hillary to win. And again, this is April of 2015. Going back to just explain how much they were in the tank for her during that time. And, this is also before, Trump officially announced his candidacy. This is based on some guesswork. But they are talking about using their media connections to elevate Republican candidates they felt would be divisive, that they thought would be destructive to their own political party. What kind of sportsmanship is that? The presidential race is supposed to be about finding the most qualified person, the best qualified person in the country to be our next president. And this idea that they would use their influence and their muscle to try to promote poor candidates in the mainstream media, and if you doubt their ability to do this, go back in time several months and remember all the DNC Wikileaks that talked about direct connections between the DNC feeding report positive coverage to the mainstream media. If you think they're not capable of doing this, you're foolish. It runs a direct parallel with what we saw in the primaries, which was Ben Carson, Ted Cruz, and Donald Trump were the most high-profile election candidates. And if you like any of these people, I'm sorry, but Ted Cruz was a religious zealot. Ben Carson thought pyramids were grain silos. And, well, we all know about Donald Trump. So, it reminds me, I have said before, if Trump wins, blame the DNC. But I did not think it was that freaking literal. They gambled. They gambled with our future to help Hillary Clinton hypothetically succeed in the 2016 election. Now, let me make a very clear distinction, though, because some people listening at home, if you're like one of those true blue hardcore Democrats and you really question a lot of this WikiLeaks stuff, you're probably saying, oh, you're probably some tinfoil hat guy saying that Trump was the plant. No. This is not a smoking gun for Trump being a plant. And that is unless there's some phone conversation or footage that gets leaked, that's all that is a tinfoil hat theory. And the idea with that being is, this is true. Trump did have a meeting with Bill about running for president. I think some people think the conversation went like this. Hey, Donald, could you run for president? And I want you to help my wife win, and just you can be the nominee and just be the most horrible possible person that you can. And, Donald was just like, it's like, I'm going to be the most deplorable. I'm the best, most deplorable. It's going to be unbelievable. I'm going to alienate so many people. So many. So no, I am not saying that is the scenario we're talking about here. What I'm talking about is they use their influence, their well-established and proven influence within the media, to elevate bad candidates on the Republican side, which ended up being Donald Trump. And, if you defend it by saying this is good strategy, or that this is how politics work, this is how you play the game, well, this is not a game. Instead of attempting to win against the Republicans on a level playing field, their campaign uses political connections to force crap to rise to the top. And if you think that's excusable because it helps them win, just stop, because that's the problem. That's inexcusable. We need to demand better from our political system. I have a conservative friend. I don't know if he's listening out there, but we've had a lot of conversations. How come, why couldn't we have debates against, Bernie Sanders and Rand Paul? Now, Rand Paul, I don't agree with all of his policies, but he is a really good Republican. He's basically the conservative answer to Bernie Sanders. He cares about the people. He agrees with a lot of the progressive planks on social justice issues. I would have loved to see a debate like that. A debate about ideas. Not this carnival show. This absolute I watched the first debate. I didn't watch the town hall. I just couldn't, ladies and gentlemen. I just could not. I couldn't take it. I saw clips from it, and it was exactly the cartoon show I thought it was going to be. But yeah, they relished the opportunity to run against Ted Cruz and Donald Trump in order to help Clinton do better in the general election. And, whether it be Rand Paul, Jeb Bush, or John Kasich, those people are intelligent, they're level-headed public figures, and they deserve a fair shot to be at the top of the ticket. Instead, we're witnessing this insane gamble. It's the largest social experiment in human history. And, after the leak of Donald saying those horrible things, I'm no longer all that concerned that he's going to win. But if he does, it's because this gamble failed. Now, here's another important thing I should bring up. I had somebody question me about this. I was talking about this on social media. Somebody asked me, it's like, well, what specifically did they do to force millions of Republicans to vote for Trump in the primaries? Now, I'm not saying they waved a magic wand. Like, these people, they didn't, give everybody fluoride that made their brains want to, vote for Donald Trump, What they did, they used their influence. And this is completely reasonable. This isn't like some conspiracy theory. We've seen them do this before. This is exactly what we saw with the primaries. Trump's not a plant, but they freaking watered him. They did. Now, as far as them elevating it, like you said, this runs very much parallel to what we saw in this whole election cycle. Now, as far as what Donald Trump ended up being, I want to make it very important. I don't think they knew just how bad Donald Trump would end up being for public discourse. And you can see through a lot of their own documents this whole anti-establishment mood that has been pervaded this election. They were completely taken by surprise and unprepared for that. And some of the other documents, they attributed his success to him being a celebrity. And if that's the only factor you really understand, then you are really missing the forest through the trees for why that that snake oil salesman has been doing so well in this election. But, they, excuse me. Where is it? So yeah, they never took him seriously for what he was. And what ended up happening, and Donald Trump of his own volition has run this campaign based on xenophobia and racism. He has taken the last stand of the scared white person, the scared white man, and turned it into a siren song for his campaign. And he has also tuned in to a lot of anti-establishment energy. And I want a lot of people to understand this too, because I see this churning around social media a lot. It's like, if you support Trump, you are my enemy. It's unconscionable. I have people in my family supporting Trump. My old man's voting for him. But you want to know something interesting? He voted for Bernie Sanders in the primaries. Now, what does that tell you? Well, if you have your head in the sand, it doesn't tell you much. You're just like, well, that's strange. Why would he vote for a progressive and then want to vote for a fascist moron like Donald Trump? Well, let me break it down. There are people in this country who understand what the status quo has been doing to us. They understand what these neoliberal policies are doing. And, you can throw out a lot of numbers, like, oh, well, job creation and wages. But the kinds of jobs that are being created, they're low-income jobs. People are working themselves to death. You see the people in these rural, poor communities that are just absolutely gutted because of globalization, which really kickstarted under Bill Clinton. NAFTA and all those trade policies. They see their sons and their daughters. There's an opioid epidemic sweeping the Rust Belt. And you ask why these people would rather vote for Donald Trump. Now, there are people voting for Donald Trump because they think he's the last white hope. And those people, can go take a flying F. But there are a lot of people voting for that dude because they find Trump disgusting, but they think he's the lesser evil. This idea, this strategy that they painted out, the worst part about it is it completely backfired. They never expected Trump to get this close, or probably Cruz or Carson, although there is another Wikileaks from one of their campaign strategists that's saying, like, oh, very worried because they think, polling against Cruz, she was doing very poorly, and the only one she was actually polling substantially ahead of was Donald Trump. Although a certain other Democratic candidate was polling 15 points ahead, but that's none of my business. So, it's unconscionable. It is unconscionable. And regardless of whether it's a smoking gun for how he's a plant, how anyone cannot be outraged by this, I cannot understand. When you rig the other side to race to the bottom, and you essentially, you gamble America's future. What if that tape had never leaked about Trump grabbing a woman by the whatever? What if things had stayed? What if her poll numbers had kept going down? Well, then on November 8th, we would get this snake oil salesman. And look, if you happen to be a Trump supporter out there, and I will give Hillary this kudos. That her people, her strategists finally woke up to this. You're not going to get at him by, going after all these politically incorrect and horrible statements he's made toward minority. You got to make the people understand that he's a snake oil salesman. He is a snake oil salesman. He does not care about you. Granted, Hillary doesn't really care about you either. That's another Wikileaks. We were somebody comments, one of her campaign staffers is like, oh, she hates us, you know, the American people. Yeah, Donald Trump is running on this crazy, xenophobic, hyper right-wing platform, not because he cares about you, not because he wants to help the average American, but because he wants to become president. He wants a Burger King crown on his head on November 8th. And it's disgusting. And the fact that Hillary's campaign had a hand in influencing that is also absolutely disgusting. We have the illusion of choice in this country, ladies and gentlemen. That's what this means. That's what that is. That means somebody was willing to gamble with our future for a couple of percentage points. Or because really she understood that people just, they understand, especially younger people. You do your research. She's got problems, man. All right? Honduras, the Wall Street speeches, we're going to get into that in just a moment. But, yeah, I'm real fired up. So, yeah. In summary, you want someone to blame for Donald Trump? Well, there's a lot of people to blame. There is Fox News for churning this hyper right-wing paranoid echo chamber for many years. There's the Republican Party for their establishment, not establishment, but complete lack of willingness to work with the other side. Democrats have that too, but it was really exasperated during Obama's terms. But you also have Hillary and Clinton and Obama to blame, because they created the terrain in which this monster could rise up and try to pass through this cartoonish idiocracy, proto-fascism upon us. Don't lose your sense of outrage on this, ladies and gentlemen. Talk about it. Please talk about it. Look up this email. I'll be putting them all up on the webpage. And if you think I'm exaggerating or that I'm just being too angry about it, I don't know what to tell you, man, or woman, or person. I find this pretty outrageous. Presidential elections should be about finding the best candidate. It shouldn't be about having a danger to this country rise to the top because you think it would be the easiest thing to beat. That's gross. It's gross. All right. Well, I've been ranting about that email for a long time. I think I'm going to take a little break. We're going to play some show promos real quick. We're going to get back and launch in to some of the other material. You're listening to the Hoodrat Strategist radio program, only on 89.1 WIDR Kalamazoo, your only source for political revolution.
I'm DJT. I'm a person. I host the show DJT and the Mondo Superlatives. That's not a person, nor is it people. I don't know what it is.
It's just something that comes out of my head every week.
Don't have any little growth clusters I can chew on, maybe, do you?
DJT and the Mondo Superlatives. Tune in every Monday from 3 to 5 on your only source for Radio Evolution, 89.1 Wider FM.
Ladies and gentlemen, short musical interlude, and then I will be getting back to the commentary.
Sacrifice a few for a safe ride home.
Hello again, ladies and gentlemen. We are listening to the Hoodrat Strategist radio program, only on 89.1 WIDR Kalamazoo. So, let's dive back into some of these Wikileaks. Oof. Oof, indeed. So, next one I want to call some attention to. So this is actually something that was brought to my attention a while ago, but I didn't really want to talk about it until there was some sort of proof. It's kind of in black and white here in the email. This talks about, just how long were they plotting out and strategizing around this election. And this is, again, about the Clinton campaign. A lot of people were very curious, why Tim Kaine? Given everything that's been going on in this season, it would have probably made more sense to, put forth, a progressive olive branch, be it Bernie Sanders, maybe Liz Warren, or, Tulsi Gabbard, Nina Turner, etc. Something to really show, to really unite the Democratic Party, somebody from the progressive wing. Kind of know why. And this email, and this is from July 15th of 2015. Again, more than a year ago. This is to John Podesta from Mr. McMullen. Mr. Mullen. Won't stop assuring Senators Brown and Heitkamp at dinner now that HRC has personally told Tim Kaine he's the Veep. A little unseemly. Now, this goes back to some political maneuvering that happened several years prior. And I'm going to go ahead and play some audio. This is one of the few actual journalists left. He's the figurehead of the group, but Julian Assange was interviewed earlier this year, and he was speaking towards why Hillary Clinton picked Tim Kaine. His insights are very interesting, and it really makes a lot of sense in the context of what actually happened. So I'm going to go ahead and play that clip for you guys real quick.
Why did Hillary Clinton conspicuously, after Debbie Wasserman Schultz, the head of the DNC, was pushed out as a result of our publication? Why, moments after, did Hillary Clinton release a press release saying that she was effectively rehiring her? What kind of signal is that to create unity with the Bernie Sanders supporters? It is mad. Why did Hillary Clinton appoint Tim Kaine? It's kind of a non-entity. So go back. Hillary loses the election. Loses the primary process against Obama. At that point, Tim Kaine was the head of the DNC, the Democratic National Committee. Debbie Wasserman Schultz was Hillary Clinton's campaign manager. So then some kind of deal is done whereby Debbie Wasserman Schultz becomes the head of the DNC and Tim Kaine steps down. Now, if you're Hillary and you're thinking strategically that you're going to run again in 4 years or 8 years, to have your campaign manager as head of the DNC, controller of the, if you like, the regulator who's regulating the nomination competition, is a huge strategic advantage. Okay, so that's wine forward. Biggest demand for her going into the convention was to show prominently to Bernie Sanders supporters that they had one of their guys at the table. Bernie Sanders as vice president, one of Bernie Sanders' key allies as vice president, or something of an equivalent nature. Didn't happen. In fact, when Debbie Wasserman Schultz was pushed to resign, within hours, Hillary Clinton put out a statement saying that she was taking Deborah Wasserman-Schultz to be the honorary head of her campaign and would be her surrogate and is her friend and would be used throughout the campaign. What kind of signal is that? When the person is being found to be acting corruptly, acting against Bernie Sanders, and you're trying to create unity, to conspicuously display that. She could have waited a week. So my perception is that the appointment of Tim Kaine and the conspicuous rehiring of Debbie Wasserman-Schultz both come from the same phenomenon, which is cronyism. That Clinton's campaign, Clinton's structure is based upon these friendships and alliances that she has built up. And she cannot permit any signal to go out that says that she doesn't respect these alliances, because that's what the structure is based on.
She would be endangered by breaking relations with those.
Exactly. If she, for example, if she didn't pick Tim Kaine, and there was a deal done 8 years ago for Tim Kaine to resign and put in Debbie Wasserman-Schultz for strategic purposes, and then she doesn't give Tim Kaine whatever he was promised, perhaps the vice presidency, then of course she'll pay the price. Debbie Wasserman-Schultz, no doubt, knows a lot about Hillary Clinton, having been intimately involved in her previous campaign. So Hillary needs to keep her close. But more than that, she needs to publicly demonstrate that she has to publicly demonstrate to all the other people, don't worry, if you take a fall for me, for doing a corrupt act for me, like Debbie Wasserman-Schultz was doing, then you'll be taken care of. So that is creates a limit on the moves that Hillary Clinton can take. She can't take any move. An obvious move would be to appoint some key Bernie Sanders person vice president. That's an obvious move. Or to not be conspicuous about saying, oh, you just screwed over in a corrupt manner to Bernie Sanders.
But you're implying that there's much more information which she's blackmailable by these different people.
Hillary Clinton does not have an unlimited number of moves she can make. She's confined on her chessboard as a result of these relationships. That may well cost her the election, because there wasn't a move. She's not an idiot. She's a highly intelligent woman. There wasn't a move available to her to unite with the Bernie Sanders supporters. That move was not available to her because the pieces, those squares, were already occupied.
So, yeah, that was Julian Assange, and what that basically was. It is a bit speculative, but it's based on a lot of factual information. All of those things he describes happened in succession, and I think it's perfectly reasonable to assert that she had a very long view, very long game. Now, there's nothing wrong with that in the realm of politics. You have a long game, you plan ahead. Of course, and this is my strategic evaluation of Hillary. She didn't leave herself very much room to maneuver with the changing terrain and the changing landscape. If she has any strategic, like her biggest strategic Achilles heel in this whole election cycle is just how out of touch she has been to the changing circumstances around her. Think about how long it took for her to ascertain what was behind Bernie Sanders' ascendancy. I think she's just starting to get why Trump is doing as well as he is. You see her in the debates actually knocking him down for selling these false promises, these false populist promises. But it took her a while to at least publicly challenge him from that angle. And like I said, she did a lot of this political maneuvering, and it's coming back to bite her in the butt because we are in a time where people are really sick and tired of that kind of political maneuvering. It was very refreshing to have somebody like Sanders come along because you could tell he was genuinely trying to push a agenda that was first and foremost for the American people. He wasn't playing a lot of these political power games. I mean, he does a lot of his own political chess playing. Maybe talk about that a little bit later on the show. But yeah, that it really goes to show how coordinated and pre-planned all this was. She really was setting up the board for herself to become president. And this populist insurgency you got, viewing from the left, Bernie Sanders, and viewing from what Donald Trump co-opted on the right, really took her completely by surprise. And be certain, in this whole election's been a referendum on the establishment that has been corrupted. Corrupted in the sense of like data corruption, because if I'm going to use computing metaphor, the program that was supposed to run this year was establishment referendum 1.056 version 2.0 or whatever, and Hillary's the person who comes in the computer room and thinks that she's about to play the Wall Street Trail or something, out of touch to the detriment of her own campaign. And yeah, make no mistake, if she weren't running against a dumpster fire like Trump, she would not be, especially if you got a Rand Paul or basically another more competent anti-establishment emblem. Very long time ago, before all this crazy year began, I was pretty certain this was going to end up being a dynasty war between a Clinton and a Bush. And as we saw it play out, that is not what happened. And Trump's ascendancy, he was helped by all that media coverage, but his ability to beat Clinton, who, while I have a lot of problems with her, she's a very competent stateswoman, and as Assange says, she's extremely intelligent. But the reason she has been doing so poorly against him is because she represents everything that people are sick and tired of. And, I've been an anti-establishment rapscallion for basically my entire adult life. But even I, before this election cycle, just voted for the person I thought was the most competent oligarch. And this election, I can't do that. It's been too much of a circus. And, again, maybe I'm going a little bit off topic there. And I will not diverge into that at this time, because we got a lot more doo-doo to sift through. Real quick, why don't we go ahead and play another quick little promo, and we'll be back and we'll be talking about some more of these WikiLeaks. Stay tuned, ladies and gentlemen. You're listening to Hoodrat Strategist radio program, only on 89.1 FM WIDR Kalamazoo, your only source for political revolution.
Are you trying to get your local Kalamazoo business name out to the WMU and Greater Kalamazoo communities? Why not do so while supporting Radio Evolution through underwriting and donations? For more information, please visit widrfm.org.
So we're going to quickly jump to a related topic. So we're talking about the WikiLeaks. Now, there have recently been some questions and attacks on the validity of WikiLeaks. Now, ever since the initial emails dropped, the first round right before the Democratic National Convention, the general party line that most of the establishment Democrats have been dropping has been pointing the finger at Russia. Now, there is not enough evidence at this time to say conclusively whether it was Russia or it was not Russia. There is a lot of evidence showing that at least the equipment that was used was had Russian proprietary used Russian proprietary equipment. There also are reports, or at least information, that Guccifer 2.0, and he is the hacker who's been responsible for the lion's share of these leaks. He's actually Romanian, so he's not affiliated with the Russian government. Now, that being said, there are reports from our government that say that a lot of this did come from Russia. But, strong caveat, it's these people theorizing that WikiLeaks is in collusion with the Russian government, and that is simply not true. WikiLeaks has been around for many years. They are equal opportunity whistleblowers. Their cables have point out corruption in almost every major country in the world. This idea that Julian Assange has a vendetta or is working with the Russians to sabotage our election, it's preposterous. If they had an agenda like that, I guess what I should really say, even if it is Russia, the Russian intelligence that leaked these to WikiLeaks, who cares? I am sorry. I'm 29 years old. I was 2 years old when the Berlin Wall fell. I don't care. And I know there's a lot of you people out there who you freak out. You hear that? Like you get the duck and cover imagery pops up in your head. And Russia is this scary thing. But this red baiting tactic that the DNC has been using is craven and disgusting, and it is also scary. It is so scary. When I watch the debates and hear Hillary Clinton talk about, Russia has been spilling the beans on our corruption, that between that and the very, very tricky situation going on in Syria, we are pivoting ourselves towards a confrontation with Russia. This is not 80s retro night, all right? Nobody wants that. Does anyone in America, raise your hand, America, does anyone in this country want another Cold War? Anyone? No. Okay, I didn't think so. Nobody wants that. But they are beating the drums of war as a distraction. Don't look at that man behind the corner. The big scary Putin is here. And how dare he try to influence our election by exposing our own corruption. Oh, yeah. I don't care where that information came from. American people deserve to see it. If it were the other way around, the American government had dirt on some Russian politics. Some American intelligence guy leaked it to WikiLeaks. Yeah, sorry, Russian oligarchs. Them's the breaks, okay? When it comes to truth, I'm the Rorschach of this mug, okay? I don't. Okay. So there's this big scary monster. Actually, okay. Let me elaborate on that. If you don't know what I'm talking about. The graphic novel Watchmen, it ends, this giant monster attacks New York and kills millions of people. Now, here's the deal. Ozymandias, he's like this rich Batman-like guy. He's the guy who came up with the evil plan. Spoilers. He created this monster out of whole cloth. And, if you extend the metaphor, I mean, hey, Trump is the monster that destroys everything, or could destroy everything. And he does this in the Cold War to bring about unity because there's this other outside threat. There's this other outside threat that we need to focus on. So, forget about these morbid politics. We need to unite behind the threat. At the end, Rorschach is obsessed with telling the truth. He doesn't care. People need to know that this was faked, that this was an illusion, that this was based on corruption, based on this elitist who thought he knew what was best for the people on the planet. He ends up getting killed, but not before dropping off his notebook. And for a lot of people who, like me on air, exposing these emails, talking about Hillary's corruption, that's kind of how we feel. Because it's, yes, Trump is the monster, and we recognize that, but truth is more important. If something drops about Hillary Clinton that could make her lose the election to Trump, but it exposes some truths about her corruption, sorry, I'm going to come on air and I'm going to talk about it because that's important. Trump would be a disaster, but we're a strong citizenry. We can deal with him, all right? We can deal with Hillary too. We'll make it through. So let's talk a little bit about what's been going on with WikiLeaks. So, and I'm going to read. This is from an article by Glenn Greenwald, and he's stringently anti-Trump, but he, as a journalist, he finds this red baiting to be very ridiculous. I'm going to read a few excerpts from his article. You can Google it. It's from The Intercept. It's in the Democratic echo chamber, inconvenient truths are recast as Putin plots. This was published on the 11th. To see how extreme and damaging this behavior has become, let's just quickly examine two utterly false claims that Democrats over the past 4 days, led by party-loyal journalists, have disseminated and induced thousands of people, if not more, to believe. On Friday, WikiLeaks published its first installment of emails obtained from the account of Clinton campaign chair John Podesta. Despite WikiLeaks' perfect, long-standing record of only publishing authentic documents, MSNBC's favorite ex-intelligence official, Malcolm Nance, within hours of the archive's release, posted a tweet claiming, with zero evidence and without citation to a single document in the WikiLeaks archive, that it was compromised with fakes. And here's the tweet he posted. This is Malcolm Nance. Podesta Podesta emails are already proving to be riddled with obvious forgeries and hashtag black propaganda, not even professionally done. And 4,000 people retweeted that obvious falsehood. So that ended up spreading in through the echo chamber. This insinuation that all of a sudden WikiLeaks was no longer a valid journalistic entity. And I'm going to scroll down a little bit here because there's something very important. Excuse me. Yeah. All right, here we are. This one, and this really chilled me because this came from Newsweek. I used to be an avid reader of Newsweek, but after this, I am shocked and appalled, really. So, more insidious and subtle, but even worse, was what Newsweek and its Clinton-adoring writer Kurt Eichenwald did last night. What happened, in reality, in the world of facts, was extremely trivial. One of the emails in the second installment of the WikiLeaks Podesta archive, posted yesterday, was from Sidney Blumenthal to Podesta. The sole purpose of Blumenthal's email was to show Podesta one of Eichenwald's endless series of Clinton exonerating articles. This one was about Benghazi. So in the body of email to Podesta, Blumenthal simply pasted the link and the full contents of the article. Although the purpose of Eichenwald's article was to defend Clinton, one paragraph in the middle acknowledged that one minor criticism of Clinton on Benghazi was possibly rational. And, once WikiLeaks announced this, that the second batch was online, much of various news outlets, organizations started combing through them. One of them was Sputnik. Now, this is the Russian government's international outlet. It's similar to RT. And it highlighted that Blumenthal email, and it conflated it to being an actual WikiLeak. They ended up removing that. But then Trump, of course, Donald Trump and all of his falsehoods, ended up referencing that article, the false article, claiming inaccurately that Blumenthal criticized Clinton. And that's it. But mainstream media took it and ran with it. But yeah, what happened was no fewer than a dozen tweets, and basically Eichenwald laid out this false narrative that, one, the documents in the WikiLeaks archive were altered, that Russian put forgeries in the WikiLeaks archive, that Sputnik knew about the WikiLeaks archive ahead of time before it was posted online, that WikiLeaks coordinated the release of the documents with the Russian government, and that 5, the Russian government and the Trump campaign coordinated to falsely attribute Eichenwald's words to Blumenthal. And this went all over the media. Even Podesta used it as an excuse that WikiLeaks was probably coordinating with the Trump campaign. So just to make it clear, y'all can read the article yourself, do your own digging. WikiLeaks has not been compromised. They have not been compromised. They have not been compromised, and they are not putting out false documents. Now, there are other things you can criticize about WikiLeaks that I have before. I think they've violated a lot of people's privacy. You know, I don't really like the 1%, but I don't think their social security numbers should be thrown out there. But they're still as valid as ever. And this is a craven attempt to discredit them because they're publishing things the DNC just doesn't like. Sorry, maybe you guys should start trying to be less corrupt. Did you think about that one? Oh. So, I'm going to go ahead and play another spot. This is going to be one of our current event spots. We're going to get back. I've been talking about the WikiLeaks almost the entire show. I really need to pick up the speed. We'll talk about the Bernie Sanders rally next. And, problem is there's not enough time in the world to talk about all these. I have a Facebook page. It's the Hoodrat Strategist radio program. It's on Facebook. You can look it up. And we kind of expand. I'll put expanded coverage, things we don't get to cover in the course of the show, talk about on the web page. So we got to get to the Sanders stuff. And if we have enough time, I'd really like to talk a little bit about some third-party stuff, but we'll have to see. Local stuff, obviously more important. So keep your dial locked. You're listening to the Hoodrat Strategist radio program, only on 89.1 FM, WIDR Kalamazoo, your only source for political revolution.
Is your RSO looking for new ways to get its name out to Western's campus and the greater Kalamazoo community? Why not use the wider airwaves? For more information on how we can work together to promote your organization and events, go to widrfm.org and click on the Airtime and Sponsorship page under the Support tab.
brief musical interlude, and then we will be getting back to the show. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is once again the Hoodrat Strategist. Listening to the Hoodrat Strategist radio program, only here on 89.1 FM, WIDR Kalamazoo. We examine current events and call out the establishment on its BS. So, what we're going to pivot to now, we're going to talk about a more local event. Last week, none other than Mr. New Deal Grandpa himself, who came up to visit in Grand Rapids. I was there to cover it, and it was interesting. I'd say I've watched a couple of clips from Bernie's Hillary stump rallies, and the early ones especially, you can tell he didn't really have the same energy. They were very small rooms. When we were waiting in line, I said there's definitely a much bigger turnout than any other ones I saw. And people in Michigan really love Mr. Sanders. And I got a chance to talk to a lot of the people waiting in the crowd, a lot of young people, a lot of millennials. I actually talked to, I'm going to play an interview in a few minutes, a couple of whom these young women aren't even old enough to vote yet. And the general consensus, everyone in the crowd, was they came to hear Bernie out. In a sense, I was too. I'm pretty solid in my conviction about who I'm going to vote for, but I still want to hear the other side of the argument. And a lot of people were there to just, they're huge fans of Mr. Sanders, and also kind of wanted to hear him out. There's a sense in the crowd, a lot of people were still kind of apprehensive about voting for Hillary. A lot of the same reasons we talked about earlier on the program, these WikiLeaks, the corruption, and having public versus a private position. That's from one of our Wall Street speeches, ladies and gentlemen. I'll go ahead. This is an interview I conducted while we were waiting in line. A couple of young ladies waiting outside to see New Deal Grandpa. All right, everybody, this is the Hoodrat Strategist. I'm standing here in line outside of the rally. New Deal Grandpa is going to be stumping for Hillary Clinton. Just so that's my code name for Bernie Sanders. So I'm out here with these three young ladies who are waiting in line for the rally. Could you all tell me your names real quick?
I'm Maddie.
I'm Lauren. And I'm Tiffany.
Oh, thank you. So just out of curiosity, so, we're here, Bernie's going to be stumping for Hillary. Are you guys here more just to see Bernie, or are you kind of on the fence about who you're going to vote for and you need to decide? But I guess really just what brings you here is probably the simpler way to ask that. But.
Well, I supported Bernie before he dropped out, and so I'm just here to see him, but most importantly, I'm just here to see what he has to say, just to what he's trying to push for Hillary, because he was against her at one point, so I'm just trying to see how he stands with her now and how he's trying to support her. I'm just curious, because maybe that will make me support her more, because it's not like I don't support her, I'm just kind of on the fence.
Thoughts?
I completely agree with her.
Yeah.
I definitely am excited to see what he has to say about Hillary.
Okay. Anything else?
Yeah, I agree. I'm solely here to see Bernie. But yeah, I'd like to see what he has to say about Hillary and make me want to go towards her side more.
Okay. So you mentioned being on the fence. Now, I'm going to assume, and just as a wild guess, you're probably not going to vote for that big orange Oompa Loompa fellow. So are you thinking about what a lot of kind of younger people are talking about with third-party votes? And if so, what are your kind of pros and cons with them versus Hillary?
With Green Party, just pros.
Let's focus on Jill Stein. Yeah.
Well, I like Jill Stein because she seems to care. I like that she's really into the environment, saving the environment. She just seems more truthful, I guess. Not truthful. I don't know how to explain it. She just seems, compared to Hillary, I just feel like Hillary just kind of flip-flops a little bit, where I just feel like Jill Stein, she just, I don't know how to explain it.
It's kind of like Hillary kind of covers things up, she doesn't say the whole entire truth sometimes.
But I will say with Hillary, I do think she is fit for the position. She's been a senator, her husband was in office, so I do think she is definitely fit. She's educated, she knows what she's talking about, I will say.
Well, unfortunately, third party has never won, but so that's why I think it's important to be here today to see the Democratic side, because although I would like someone from the third party to win, I don't think it's very likely.
All right. Okay. Well, I can't really think of much else to ask, but I don't know. Do you have any other thoughts while we're standing out here? Or?
I stand with her because I hope that Trump does not win. I am praying to God.
Yeah. I think we're all in that position. Anyway, thank you very much. And that's I want to thank them again for willing to talk to me. But yeah, that was a very pervasive mood down there, and I do want to throw this out there. I've really become activated this year. I've had my pulse on every leak, every corruption, every scandal. I've known about Hillary's history for a long time. I used to just, as my history is just this anti-establishment agitator. And, let's go ahead and, I'll finish that thought first before we play another clip. But, there's that pervasive sense. A lot of the younger people, they do their research. And, there is this pervasive sense that I talked to a handful of people who they would there's pros and cons. A lot of people said they prefer Stein, they'd like to vote third party. Trump it scares them. And I did want to address that very briefly. We talk about third parties a lot on the show. Now there's two sides to it I always hear, which is Well, there's that catchphrase from Jill Stein. Reject the lesser evil, vote for the greater good, and you gotta, or a vote for anyone but Hillary is a vote for Trump. And there's a lot of infighting in activist circles about this. It's caused Bernie's Revolutionary Coalition to splinter in a really bad way. And while I might be voting third party in this election, I understand why people are voting for Hillary. And I think on both sides, there needs to be a mutual respect. This divisiveness based on our particular choice on the ballot November 8th, it's not constructive. It's reductive. And whoever wins on the 8th, how we're going to battle either Hillary or Trump is going to be based on grassroots, people-based organizing. These figurehead shell games right now are just dividing us. And, if put on my Hoodrat Strategist helmet for a second, here's what I suggest. So, Michigan is a swing state. So here's the strategy for a swing state. You don't want your vote to help Trump. Is that right? Because if you're voting for, say, Jill Stein, you are taking a vote away from Hillary. Or, I don't want to discount, maybe, if you're listening on this program, maybe you support Trump and you're voting for Trump to stop Hillary. Well, what you can do if you're in a situation like that, and say you don't want to vote for Gary Johnson because that would take a vote away from Trump and that would help Hillary win, find a matching buddy. If you're a liberal, find a conservative friend that doesn't like Donald Trump, or vice versa, and basically that's your voting buddy. That way you don't help Hillary, you don't help Trump, and you can safely vote your conscience. And that's if you're in a swing state like here in Michigan. I've already found one for myself. I'm not saying which third party I'm voting for. It's down to two choices, though. I probably won't really know until I get there in the booth. So that's the strategy for swing state. If you're listening outside of this area and you live in a state that's solid blue or solid red, it doesn't matter. Go. Just vote for whoever you want. Because you're not... the demographics of your state give you the privilege. Just, vote your conscience. So please do that. And particularly in these recent revelations, between the election fraud and the fact that they wanted to elevate Donald freaking Trump, I just can't do it. But I have no disrespect for people who are voting for Hillary. And if people who are voting tactically for Trump to stop Hillary, I will respect those people as well. Like I said, my own father's one of those people. And I think, if you're on the left, please try to understand why those people are doing it, okay? I know a lot of you are dissatisfied with Hillary too, so are they. And that's why they're doing it. So, when this election is over, we have to pivot back to what's more important, and that is building a transpartisan coalition to knock this government corruption out the box. And we have an ample field to start with because there's a lot of anti-establishment conservatives who are either, swallowing Donald Trump or voting for Gary Johnson. And there's a lot of anti-establishment liberals who love Bernie Sanders or are moving on to Jill Stein or who are voting for Hillary Clinton out of tactical reasons. So, yeah, stop being divisive about that crap, okay? Everybody's entitled to their opinion, and I personally think we need a diversity of tactics. We need people to do both. Vote Hillary. Vote third party. Important pro tip. And it's most likely the Greens or the Libertarians could get to this threshold. Either of those parties gets to 5% in the national vote, they become a federal party for 2020. And what that means is they'll get federal matching funds. And that means they can actually run a competitive campaign in 2020 against the Republicans and Democrats. Now, even if that means they don't win, what it does mean is it puts pressure on the Democrats to select actual progressives to run in their races, and it puts pressure on the Republicans to run fiscal conservatives who are more keyed into social justice. People like Rand Paul, or like Gary Johnson, or like Ron Paul. That kind of new wave of conservatives who are not so much tied into these religious social issues such as abortion and gay rights. So, let's go ahead. I have a clip from Bernie's speech, and I will go ahead and play that for everyone. This is, I think, about the first 8 minutes of his speech from Grand Rapids.
Idea to give many hundreds of billions of dollars in tax breaks to the very wealthiest people in the country. I've gone around this country, and I want to thank, by the way, the people of Michigan for the support they give me. I've been running all over this country for a year and a half, talking about a corrupt campaign finance system, about a corrupt tax system, a corrupt political system. And in one day, Donald Trump made the case for me better than I made it in a year and a half. I want to thank what Donald Trump showed the people of this country is that if you are a billionaire like Trump, if you own nations all over the world, if you live in the lap of luxury, you don't have to pay any federal income tax. That's what Trump showed us. That is a rigged tax system. And when Trump and his billionaire friends are saying, why do we have to pay taxes? We got the middle class, we got working people, they'll pay the taxes, we get the loophole. Well, I say to Mr. Trump and his billionaire friends, we are going to change that corrupt tax system.
Just quick interjection. What Bernie's talking about there's in the first debate, Trump was bragging about how he doesn't have to pay any taxes. And to his twisted credit, Trump has been really honest about it. He's actually using it as a point against Hillary. It's like, well, the reason I don't have to pay taxes is because the tax code is written in favor of people like me, the 1%. Which, I don't know. It's a weird level of cognitive dissonance to use that as a campaign point. It's like, yep, she's been helping the 1%, like me. All right, so let's keep going with Bernie's speech. Sorry it's a little echoey, but yeah, I did my best, so.
What Hillary Clinton and I have been working on for a long time is the understanding that if our standard of living is going to improve, if we're going to create good-paying jobs in this country, we need to have the best educated workforce in the world. Let me tell you that we once did have the best educated workforce. We once had the highest percentage of people in the world who went and graduated college. That is no longer the case. Today in Michigan, in Vermont, and all over this country, we have hundreds of thousands of bright, qualified young people who want to get a higher education, but they cannot do it because their families lack the income. That is unfair to those families, and it is unfair to the future of our country. Hillary Clinton and I believe that in the United States of America today, all of our people, regardless of their income, should be able to get a college education. population. Public colleges and universities will be tuition-free. Anybody here with student debt? We have a situation where millions of Americans are struggling with outrageous levels of student debt, and some of them are paying interest rates on that debt of 6, 8, even 10%. And what Secretary Clinton says and what I say is we have got to allow those people to refinance their loans at the lowest interest rate.
All right, so I think I'm going to pause it right there. I didn't actually get the juiciest bits of his speech, which is rather unfortunate, because he really picked up speed near the end. If you weren't there, here's basically how it broke down. It was much like his traditional stump speeches that he did in the primary, the ones that were basically like rock concerts. If you were a fan of New Deal Grandpa, you probably remember those. Just peppered throughout with more references to Trump and Hillary Clinton and talking about the intermittent references to Hillary, focusing more on the Democratic platform. His whole strategy, and if you're on the extreme left, guys, I know you're very dismissive about this. It's like, oh, Hillary's never gonna do that stuff. Blah, blah, blah. He's a sellout. And look, I've said this before. I love Bernie, but he's a Washington insider. These are the chess moves that he's making. This is how he wants to play the game and get this stuff done. I don't personally agree with it. I think he could have ran a successful campaign as an independent and broke away after the convention, and he would have had every right to do so. But, the past is past. He has his own reasons, his own calculus. So, that's just what he's doing. And I will mention near the end of this video, I yelled at him about election fraud. Senator Sanders, where is your sense of outrage? The people's voices were suppressed. Da-da-da. And it's a very interesting mood, because I was holding up a sign or a notebook and I was scrawling messages on it. And now I was about and this is neat. I was 10 feet away from him. Oh my God. Just like Sanders, they where is your outrage, Senator? Election fraud. The DNC robbed us. They stole our voices, that sort of thing. Now, after I yelled for the first time, somebody right next to me very politely was just like, can you please, tone it down? We're trying to hear Bernie speak. And, they were very kind and soft-spoken about it. And what I noticed, especially afterwards, the friend I went with, he was surprised because we thought it was it seemed very pro-Hillary. But the mood of the crowd was interesting when I started putting that sign up. I looked over, and interesting fact, if you have been following this crazy election year, you might remember at the DNC during Joe Biden's speech, there was a big election fraud banner that was hung down, and that very same banner was there. Some delegates from the convention were there, and I was talking to a couple of them after the speech and the event, and it was interesting because what we talked about is that it wasn't that people denied that election fraud happened, and I was even talking to people after it, and what it was is people are, one, so afraid of Trump, and two, they love the man, and I have a special place in my heart for him too. Now, I question him. I dig up dirt on every politician. Even Bernie Sanders, he's no golden child. He's done some BS stuff. But the people there understood. And some of them, they talk, it's like they felt a little guilty because they knew that, they remember what happened in the primary. They know what the DNC did to us. But they needed Bernie to be there to reassure them that it's okay to vote for Hillary. I have a plan. And that's where he pivoted towards the end of his speech, talking about and focusing on the progressive platform and how we are going to make it happen, and how, and this part even choked me up a little bit. He said the R word, the political revolution. He talked about it, continues. That crowd was deafening when he said that. And I was glad to hear it, because a lot of people have thought, party's over, all that stuff. And it does. It does continue. And for what I've told people, this is just the beginning. And I have been very worried that beyond this election, people are going to become cynical and they're going to go back into their caves and they're not going to do what needs to be done, which, as New Deal Grandpa said, all of you need to go out there and run for office and take over our political system. And everyone's like, yeah, Bernie. Woo! And so, it was great to see him. It was unfortunate to see him in that context, stumping for an inferior candidate who I find to be just a part of that corrupt system that I've been fighting against my entire life. But when Bernie says he has a plan, I'm not voting for Hillary, but, I've lost faith in him. I don't think he's sold out. I don't think he's sold out at all. I think he's making the chess moves he wants to make. And frankly, when it comes to the game of political chess, those moves are going to be up to us pretty soon. Don't keep relying on that figurehead to push you on and keep you going. We need to take over. We need to run for office. I don't care if you're a Democrat or a Republican or an independent or a libertarian or a green. If you're anti-corruption, if you want to stand for the people, go run. Go run for office. You got the social skills to do it. Start. School board, city council, write and run, because we need to get corruption out of the box. Now, I want to close. We're going to be kind of closing towards the end of the show here. And we're going to close out, bring it back full circle, talk a little bit more about WikiLeaks. So this is a video that Bernie put out today. For those of you who know me, climate change is the most important. Look, climate change is the most important. I don't even want to call it an issue. It's a scientific fact. And if you know anything about it, it should scare the absolute hell out of you. Now, while this is an objective program, it's nonpartisan, transpartisan, I am never going to have a climate change denier on my show. Do you know why? I wouldn't have somebody on my show telling everybody the world is flat. I wouldn't have somebody on my show debating the theory of gravity. Climate change it exists. It's a fact. We're doing it. People are doing it. This is proven. And it's also the same attitude. If you want to come at me and tell me election fraud didn't happen, I look at you the same way I look at a climate change denier, okay? It happened. Look at it. I'm sorry. You're wrong. Do your research. Bernie Sanders got cheated, and so did we by extinction. So, I will let anybody on the show to debate issues, but we are not debating facts. So, he had this to say about climate change. Again, kind of pushing for Hillary to become the next president. Let's listen in.
Levels exceeded 400 parts per million in the atmosphere. Scientists tell us that this marks an extremely grave milestone. And unless we are able to reverse course, our planet will keep warming, sea levels will keep rising, extreme weather will become more and more common, and the damage will be irreversible. Hillary Clinton is running on a Democratic Party platform that has the most progressive climate change plan in history. Meanwhile, Donald Trump thinks climate change is a hoax and wants to expand fossil fuel production. A vote for Hillary Clinton is a vote for bold action on climate change. It is a vote to protect our planet for our families and future generations. So for the sake of our planet and our kids and grandchildren, be a voter. Go to iwillvote.com right now to register to vote or to check whether you're registered and to get more information, including when and where you can vote and what you need to bring. The future of our planet is at stake.
So I have a great deal of respect for New Deal Grandpa on this. And as a matter of fact, that above any other issue is what made me get off my butt and go canvass and phone bank for this man. Because he was the only candidate running out of the two parties who had an actual realistic plan that would have been as aggressive on climate change that we really need to be. What we need is something that isn't being offered. And I'm going to have to correct the record on Bernie with this a little bit. Because, his whole strategy, he can't say it out loud. He's not stupid. He knows Hillary's record. And for those of you out there, I want everyone to understand this, especially people who are voting for Clinton. You got to read between the lines here. Make no mistake. A vote for Hillary Clinton is a vote for someone who will give empty lip service to climate change and try at every turn to renege on her campaign promises. And if we have any hope of preventing the worst climate of the climate catastrophe scenarios, it's going to be up to us. Up to us and, politicians like Sanders and Tulsi Gabbard and Nina Turner, public figures like Josh Fox, to help us push this agenda, this World War II scale mobilization that is absolutely required. And if you vote for her on the 8th, vote for her on the 8th if you must. But don't think for a second that Hillary Clinton is the solution to climate change. And now look, I understand Donald Trump thinks it's caused by unicorns or some stupid crap like that. I understand. But when it comes to climate change, it's like the difference between doing too little is almost as bad at this point as doing nothing at all. It's just like, and especially like her platform, if it weren't for Bernie Sanders, it would be absolutely pathetic. And as her platform stands now, we're still going to sink into the ocean. And we're going to have to, here's what we're going to have to do. And I want to bring this up. This is another WikiLeaks. And this goes back to the whole like public versus private position thing. So her public position is this. By the time we get through all of my conditions, I do not think there will be many places in America where fracking will continue to take place. And here's her in private. So I am an all-in kind of person, an all of the above kind of person when it comes to America's energy and environmental future. Fracking was developed by the Department of Energy. The whole idea of how fracking came to be available in the marketplace is because of research done by our government. And I've promoted fracking in other places around the world. I've promoted fracking in other places around the world. Now, if you don't understand how bad fracking is, here's my first suggestion. I mentioned Josh Fox earlier. He's a documentary filmmaker. Gasland Part 2. He goes to these places, these towns where fracking takes place. It's a horror show. People, health conditions, bad juju. And the CO2 that gets pumped in the atmosphere by fracking is terrible. Terrible amounts. They will put us on track to have our coastal cities sink into the ocean. And make no mistake, this woman is still behind this stuff. Even in the debates, she's wishy-washy. Sanders was the only one with the courage to say, no more fracking. We don't need that crap. It poisons people, and it's exacerbating the climate change problem in a very, very dramatic fashion. So to summarize, basically, if we want any progress on that, Hillary gets elected, keep in mind, this is a woman who sold fracking, who was down with the Keystone Pipeline, who does get donor money, historically, from fossil fuel interests. She might be marginally better than Donald Trump, but we are going to have to fight every inch of terrain if we want our future. To quote Terminator 2, ladies and gentlemen, the future is not set. There is no fate but what we make for ourselves. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, I'm about out of time on the program tonight. I want to thank y'all for listening. Next week, I will be... Oh, no, actually, that's a week after. Next week will just be a normal show. I might have guests on, I might not. I do intend to get some third-party coverage on. I've got some audio from Angela Walker that I wanted to get to. Went a little long today talking about the WikiLeaks. Anyway, all of you out there, this has been the Hoodrat Strategist radio program. Only here on 89.1 FM, WIDR Kalamazoo, your only source for political revolution.